Hey gang, it's your boy Platt back with another episode of Value Spirits. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. And I'm sure like a lot of folks after the holidays, you're looking for some bargains. You're looking for save some money. And I think I got a pretty good value here. It's Gentleman Jack. I purchased this bottle at $28.99, so under $30, which is what I try to keep my value spirits at. I figure under 30 is a good number. And we got this right underneath. It is Jack Daniels. Of course, it's a product of Jack Daniels. Gentleman Jack, double mellowed Tennessee whiskey, distilled and bottled by Jack Daniels Distillery, Lynchburg, Tennessee, comes in at 80 proof. Now, start off with a little background of Jack Daniels. Of course, a lot of us already know the story. Founded by a gentleman named Jasper Newton Daniels, sorry about that, also known as Jack, roughly born in 1850. We say roughly because we're not 100% sure because it was 1850 is a long time ago. We do know Jack, though, was one of 10 children. His mother died young. His father remarried and then passed away during the Civil War. Jack, by this point, was a teenager and decided, I'm getting out of the house, and he moved in with a local pastor named Dan Call. Now, Dan, besides being a pastor, also was a distiller, and ended up basically selling the business or giving the business off to Jack because of the conflict with being a pastor. Now, Jack most likely learned his distillation from a gentleman named Nearest Green, who had been a slave of Dan's. And Nearest ended up, after emancipation, becoming the head distiller at Jack Daniels for years. Besides teaching young Jack how to distill, he also taught something called the Lincoln County method that we'll get into a little bit. It kind of helps make Jack Daniels unique. Now, when Jack passed away, he never got married, never had kids, so he ended up giving the distillery to his nephew, a gentleman named Lim Motlow. For years and years and years, on a bottle of Jack, the classic black label, you would see proprietor Lim Motlow, and he's the one that kind of created the modern-day Jack Daniels company that we know of today. So what do we have in this bottle? Well, first and foremost, it's Tennessee whiskey. Now, if you ever heard me talk about Tennessee whiskey before, we know that it's basically bourbon, or they take a bourbon mash bill and they distill it to similar proof points and barrel at similar proof points as bourbon. The mash bill for bourbon has to, by law, be at least 51% corn. I believe Jack's is 80, so it's kind of a high corn bourbon mash bill. Where there's really the unique differences, of course, this has to be made in Tennessee, but they use something called the Lincoln County method, or sometimes referred to as charcoal mellowing. And what they do at Jack is they have these giant vats full of charcoal. They make their own charcoal from sugar maple trees. And it takes roughly 6 days to drip through the 10 feet or whatever, and they say this kind of smooths out the whiskey, takes off some rough edges, and is referred to as the Lincoln County process, and that's kind of, again, what makes Tennessee whiskey unique from bourbon. Now, after Prohibition, the few brands that had survived Prohibition whiskey-wise kind of just stayed in their lane. Jack Daniels made black label Jack Daniels, and for the most part, that was it. They did have a green label for a little while, but Jack Daniels made Jack Daniels. Jim Beam made Jim Beam. And for a long time, it stayed that way until about the 80s and early 90s when they started diversifying product lines. Well, Jack Daniels' first entry into that was this Gentleman Jack, came out in 1988. One of the issues when diversifying your product line is you still want to kind of keep to that core, concept of your whiskeys, whether it's a high rye whiskey, charcoal-filled whiskey, what have you. What they did with this product is they basically took regular Jack and they double mellowed it. Traditional Jack will go through the charcoal filtering process before it goes into the barrel. Gentleman Jack does it before it goes in the barrel and before it goes into the bottle. So it's double mellowed, extra smooth. That's the way it's been marketed the whole time. It's Jack, just even smoother to a certain extent. Now, they have gone on to diversify the line more, and they're really coming out with some neat stuff. After Gentleman Jack came out, they came out with a single barrel, which means that the product in the bottle, all that whiskey comes from the same barrel. Everything comes from one barrel. I used to work at a big casino on the Strip, and I had the privilege one year of me and a couple bartenders went up and picked the barrel. We did their barrel program where we bought an entire barrel and then they would bottle it out. It came out to like 200 something bottles, and that's what we would get, a new barrel every year, and I got to pick the barrel. It's absolutely cool. And one of the things you learn is there's actually a decent sized difference between the flavors of the whiskey coming out of different barrels. Even though they're the same warehouse, same stills, same mash bill, there's still quite a difference in flavor, and that's what makes the Jack Daniel's single barrel kind of unique. Comes in at 94 proof now. They also do barrel proofs of these single barrels, which means it's not watered down to a certain point, so each barrel proof is going to come out different. Generally, they're in the mid 120s to low 130s barrel proof wise. Quite a bit kick. Jack Daniel's recently has also come out with their Bonded series. Now, the term bonded is referred to bottle and bond. We've talked about several of these. I think Evan Williams, one of them I reviewed, where it was the first kind of food labeling act, and one of the things is it had to be a minimum of 100 proof. Well, all these whiskeys in the Bonded series are at 100 proof. However, they don't have the official tax stamp, and when looking at the marketing on the website, I don't think they're officially bottle and bond, but they kind of claim, well, we were doing the bottle and bond kind of thing before anyway. We don't need it. This is our Bonded series. They do a version of the traditional Jack at 100 proof. They do a rye at 100 proof, and Jack is getting really good reviews on some of the ryes because they do a single barrel rye too. And then lastly, they do something called the triple mash. It is a blend of the first two and an American malt whiskey. If you've heard any different, please leave in the comments, but rumor is that they're working on, I don't know if they've released it, I didn't see anything on the website, but that supposedly they're working on a single malt whiskey, which I'm definitely looking to check out. So anyway, fun stuff from Jack Daniel's, and time to try the Gentleman Jack. Oh, in case you didn't notice, I got me my fancy little whiskey glass. I had a little one at one time and broke it in an accident, but spoiled myself for Christmas, and this is what I got myself, so good reason to break it out. Now, one thing about these glasses, the narrowness, it really kind of holds on to those aromas and really lets you kind of put your nose in there and get deep. Oh, that's nice. There's, I notice on the nose there's not a burn. Now, this is only 80 proof, so it's not going to burn, quite as much as higher proof whiskeys, but even the nose is more mellow. Now, I'm picking up the classic vanilla and some of the wood notes and a little bit of that corn. Nothing's too prominent, but again, the nose is even kind of mellowed out or tamed down. Time to jump in. Man, that goes down. That goes down easy. Again, I know it's 80 proof, but that is a mellow whiskey. All right, some of the flavors are starting to open up a little more mid palate, not necessarily back, but more kind of front mid palate. That's simple corn. Barrel char, but again, goes down easy. Nice warm feeling, but not hot. This sip's nice. I will say that this is probably not a cocktail whiskey. When I'm talking about cocktails, I'm talking about the classic whiskey cocktails, your Manhattans, Old Fashions, what have you. They tend to need a whiskey with a little more intense flavors. So if you're going to add things like bitters and sweet vermouth or whatever to cocktails or sugar syrups, what have you, you need a whiskey with a little more oomph. This is mellowed out. The oomph is mellowed out. So I don't know if this would be a great cocktail whiskey. This is a really nice sipping whiskey. And sometimes if someone hands you, hey, let's get a shot of something, you don't want the harsh stuff. This would be the route to go. You could obviously, throw it in with your traditional mixers, a ginger ale, 7, cola, what have you. But this is just a nice drinker. Put it on ice, water down, it would just go down would go down real easy. I think this was the gold when you do something like double mellow. You're looking to make something that's very sippable, very approachable. And I think they have done that with Gentleman Jack. Again, it's not bursting with flavors. It's 80 proof, so it's going to be a little mellower. But again, you want just a nice, simple sipper. Gentleman Jack's kind of tough to beat. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit subscribe down below. Excuse me. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or value spirits you would like me to talk about, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Until next time, bombs up.